Nothing beats the thrill of leaving supercars in the dust at the stoplight. Picture making a Maserati shed tears or leaving a Ferrari owner questioning their life choices. It's what dreams are made of. So get ready for the lowdown on 8 incredible sleeper cars that can give those $100,000 plus supercars a run for their money. These rides promise unexpected power, all while saving you a ton of cash compared to those flashy supercar price tags. And we're kicking things off with something special. When it comes to high-powered street talk, Mazda might not be the first name that pops up. Known for budget-friendly and reliable entry-level vehicles, Mazda surprises everyone with the Mazda Speed 6. Don't let its average commuter car exterior fool you. Under the hood lies a scary secret. A 2.3-liter turbocharged engine pushing out 274 horsepower. With an all-wheel drive system, this unassuming mom car can hit 60 in just 6.2 seconds. While stock may not blow away supercar owners, tuners have cranked some of these to over 600 horsepower. We found a rare low-mileage example with a manual transmission for just $9,000, complete with some sweet mods, ready to give a Lambo a run for its money. Sprinkle on some extra upgrades and you'll be living life a quarter mile at a time, leaving objects in your rearview mirror wondering what just happened. Moving on to our next contender is a legendary sleeper wagon that made its way from Sweden to challenge supercars, the Volvo V70. Now, I know what you might be thinking. How can this super safe mom wagon possibly compete with a supercar? Well, that's precisely what makes it a sleeper, my friend. No one in their right mind would expect you to unleash the power of your unassuming V70R and start burning rubber. Exclusive to all-wheel drive, the V70R boasts around 300 horsepower in the R trim, sprinting from 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds. But here's the fun part. Knowing you'll probably dive under the hood, make a few modifications, and soon enough, you'll be looking at a formidable 400 to 500 horsepower. Surprise any supercar owner and leave them in the dust all while having space for your friends and your stuff in the back. Now, if the V70 styling isn't your cup of tea, don't worry. That's precisely what makes it a sleeper. But wait, there's more. Our next car on the list is a bit sleeker. All right, buckle up, folks. Now, at first glance, you might mistake the Mercury Marauder for the Ford Crown Vic. But once anyone catches sight of that Mercury badge on the front grille, they're going to assume you're packing as much horsepower as a Mitsubishi Mirage. Well, the joke's on them because you, my friend, own a Mercury Marauder, and it's packing a naturally aspirated 4.6-liter dual overhead cam V8, boasting a more than respectable 302 horsepower and 318 foot-pounds of torque. Now that's a fantastic start for a platform that, with a couple of aftermarket goodies, a dyno tune, and maybe a dash of forced induction because, well, it's a good old American V8, your Marauder is set to reach 500 plus horsepower with ease. This beast becomes a drag demon that can rival supercars. The secret is out about the sleeper potential of these cars, and market prices have been on the rise. Fear not though, because I've got your back with one under 10 grand, boasting under 120,000 miles. A super under the radar, super fast donut special. That's the Mercury Marauder in a nutshell. Now, if you're craving something a bit different, still American, but with a touch more style than the Marauder, remember, these are sleepers. The next car on the list has ludicrous tuning potential. Enter the old-school Eagle Talon TSI. Sure, it might not be as stylish as a modern Porsche 911 or a classic Challenger, but it has its own 90s charm. Get one with those pop-up headlights, and you've got an instant classic and an instant sleeper on your hands. The Talon TSI has a unique backstory, a result of Chrysler rummaging through the parts bin and throwing together something awesome. We're not talking about the base Talon, that's a snore. We're talking about the Talon TSI with a 2-liter turbo and all-wheel drive, especially the first generation from 1990. The TSI trim was offered with either a 4-speed automatic or a 5-speed manual. And yes, save the manuals. With 195 horsepower in the initial years, later bumped up to 210 horses, the Talon TSI could hit 60 in 6.6 seconds and reach a top speed of 150 miles per hour. It's got serious racing chops, and its solid engineering allows you to add performance mods until supercars are tasting your exhaust pipe. Someone even built a 1200 horsepower Talon Bugatti numbers. Anyone? Now, finding a Talon TSI in good condition with a 5-speed manual is like finding a unicorn. But if you're up for it, budget anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000. Alternatively, if you don't mind a bit of manual swapping and a project, you can snag autos for under 10 grand and modify it into a 4-figure horsepower beast. It's all about unleashing the power of this hidden gem. Alright folks, the next contender is an American classic with a rich history and power that's ready to hit the roads. The Pontiac Grand Prix has been a staple since its debut in 1962, embodying the essence of a classic car. The mid-70s models were slick, and there's something about the 1988 fifth-generation release, let's put it nicely, considerably less cool. But hey, we're not here to talk style. We're diving into performance. So, let's look at the Pontiac Grand Prix GXP, which made its debut in 2005. Take a peek under the hood, and you'll discover the legendary S4 V8, a 5.3-liter active fuel management engine based on the LS1 block. The GXP can unleash 303 horsepower through a 4-speed automatic transmission with flappy paddles. Yes, for the early 2000s, this car might be overpowered straight off the shelf. Being front-wheel drive might raise an eyebrow, but surprisingly, it's nimble. If you fancy a front-wheel drive monster, it's practically the ideal platform to start with. Pontiac GXP tuners are pushing these front-wheel drive sleepers to over 500 horsepower. Finding a GXP online isn't too challenging, and they're not breaking the bank. And if you're lucky enough, you can snag a 2006 car for around $7,000, boasting just over 100,000 miles. The extensive aftermarket support means that if you're on the hunt for more power, you're sure to find it. But if you're after a hidden gem that's even more budget-friendly and a blast to drive, look no further than the Ford Taurus. Yeah, if you were worried most suggestions would be old, this one breaks the mold. Now it might not scream supercar slayer in terms of looks, but it's certainly not an eyesore. What sets the SHO apart is under the hood, boasting a 3.5-liter dual overhead cam V6 with twin turbos, cranking out an impressive 365 horsepower. In terms of handling, sure, it's a large and tall sedan, but the all-wheel drive traction systems keep it glued to the ground, making it feel super stable. The driving experience is pretty ideal, complemented by a noteworthy interior and a bunch of tech features. Now I know why you're here. You're itching to turn your Taurus SHO into a bloodthirsty supercar slayer. Well, the good news, people have modified these bad boys to over 600 horsepower. Admittedly, the Taurus SHO might be a bit more expensive than some others on this list, but it's still pretty affordable. A little research and you can find one that's just a decade old, boasting 100,000 miles, all for $8,000. And for those of you with a penchant for Swedish sleepers, there's one that's been somewhat forgotten by the world, but we're here at Ideal, ready to bring it back into the limelight. Yes, we're talking about Saab, the Swedish automaker that met its demise in 2011. However, Saab didn't exit quietly. It left us with some awesome sleepers, like the Saab 9.5 Aero. This performance version of the base 9.5 was crafted to embarrass cars that cost way more. In 2003, it kicked off with 250 horsepower from a 2.3-liter straight 4. But hold on, these numbers got a boost in subsequent versions, with the 2006 Aero gaining an extra 10 horsepower. The final 2011 version featured a 2.8-liter V6, amping up the Swedish sleeper to 300 horsepower. Now, the Saab 9.5 Aero is a fantastic platform to turn into your high-horsepower land rocket. Some enthusiasts have pushed these beasts to 500 horsepower and beyond. Selling this to your parents is a breeze because the 9.5 Aero is renowned as one of the safest cars from the 2000s. The 03 Aero was front-wheel drive with a 5-speed manual transmission, later replaced with an automatic, but every version guarantees an absolute blast to drive. And here's the kicker, no one will ever expect that much power from a Saab. Now, let's shift gears to a Japanese contender, a sleeping giant ready to zoom past supercars with a touch of old-school classic style. Picture this, a car you've seen a million times on the road, yet you'd have no clue what it is. If that sounds confusing, let me break it down for you. Alright, let's talk about the Mitsubishi Galant VR4, a ride that exudes old-school style, perfect for those who appreciate the 90s aesthetic. Now, on the surface, it might look like your average unassuming car, but make no mistake, the VR4 is far from ordinary. This top-tier version of the Galant, produced between 1988 and 1992, had its origins in complying with Group A homologation regulations for the WRC. Essentially, it's a street-legal race car flexing Mitsubishi's performance prowess. The VR4, which stands for Vicious Real-Time Four-Wheel Drive, incorporates a dynamic force steering system to make it rally-ready. The 6th-gen Galant VR4 packs a punch with 195 horsepower and a top speed of 130 miles per hour in stock form. Given its rally car roots and turbocharged nature, you can bet those numbers are just the starting point. That's it for this video. Drop a comment below and let us know your favorite sleeper from the list. If you enjoyed this content, Don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell for more. Until next time.